Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This was a conversation that I was really excited to have with Sam. We'll be talking about a few different things. The first is around the impact that AI and agents are having on how we think about building data infrastructures. But then we'll also be talking about the impact on the humans themselves. How do people build user experience when you're dealing with much more data than you were in the past? And we'll talk about the experience that the Delphi team had navigating both of these worlds. We'll talk about Materialize, and then we'll save some time for questions at the end. So I'm Nate, the CEO of Materialize, and I'm joined by Sam, the co-founder and CTO at Delphi. So I'll pass it to Sam, and he can give you an overview on his product as well as a demo.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. I've been looking forward to this as well. I was excited earlier this year when you reached out and said, Materialize is trying to lean more into this kind of thing. And so it's been great working with you and the team and looking forward to this conversation as well. So co-founder of Delphi, I've been working on it for 2.5 years. And yeah, I think you can go to this landing page. This is a new version of our website that we just released. Your Mind Now on Demand. What is Delphi? What do we do? Delphi is a platform that lets people create a digital version of their mind. You can see on here some people you might recognize the faces of: authors, a DJ, coach, venture capitalists. These people have content, they have ways of doing things, they have expertise, but they're busy. And our customers right now are people who fundamentally have some reason for someone to learn from them. They have some sort of expertise, special way of doing things, and we want to give them the ability to increase their impact. And so if you go to the next slide, we have the evolution of knowledge transfer. So we have this also a little like 3/4 of the way down on our landing page. 100,000 years ago, how did people communicate ideas? Verbal communication, kind of like Nate and I are doing right now. We're just talking one-on-one about my expertise and his. And then we had the first way people actually wrote down their thoughts and spread them out, one-to-many broadcast, the printing press, and then radio, one-to-many broadcast, television, podcast. There's been lots of evolution of how people take their thoughts and they share them with the world. But Delphi is the first way that people can actually create a digital representation that scales a one-to-one to many. So it's scalable interactively, which is a first. And so obviously along the lines of that, there were a lot of interesting data challenges that have come up. First thing I want to do is show you a little bit of a demo of the Delphi product. And I think the first thing is I'll show you the screen that was the very first view we replaced with Materialize. And so in here this is my Delphi studio. And so, I talked a little bit about at a high level what Delphi is, but I think just to actually get a little bit more granular, what is it? This is the way that people can interact with your Delphi once you create it. So this is mine. And my personal website, spelsberg.io, is my Delphi. You can go and talk to it if you want to learn a little bit about me. But on the back end, so we have creators and consumers, and the consumers talk to Delphi's this way. This is the creator view. And so you have your insights dashboard where you can see conversations that have happened. You can see insights, and you can see, the quality of your Delphi, things like this. This view, though, quickly became complex. So I think something that is interesting is showing one of our creators who gets a lot of usage. If you go to his access tab and we haven't replaced all the pages of Materialize yet, which is why some of it's slow. you can see that all of these green dots are people that are actually using it right now. So these are all live users. And this audience table has an overview of people, the messages, the last time they were active, tags, all of these different things get pulled together from a bunch of different places inside different SQL tables, S3 bucket, a bunch of different places. And once this table started getting really big for people to get the overview of their audience, and like the complexity started increasing, it would take 2 minutes. Sometimes it would just time out or fail, where you would land in studio. And we even had some customers where we would think to ourselves, man, really, I hope that this person doesn't open their studio today, because it's just going to cause one of our database connections to die.
One of the things I wanted to just back up really quickly, and you talked about this being a complex UI, and you have the data coming from these different sources. What was the impact on your team as you were thinking about trying to figure out, how do I just make this load in a reasonable amount of time?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we were on the progression towards, which I think a lot of people are when they find Materialize, is, do we need a data warehouse? Do we need something complex to pull together all of these views, because our OLTP databases are starting to get hammered with super complex queries? And the impact on the team there is, okay, now someone needs to go and spend a bunch of time thinking about, how do we create a scalable data pipeline? What is that going to look like? There's so many tools out there to actually pipe it into a data warehouse. What data warehouse are we going to use? All of that. And we don't want our competitive advantage, at least last year, to be like how effective our data warehouse pipeline is. So it was more, how can we avoid spending, taking an engineer who should be focused on product and delivering an incredible user experience, avoid taking them off of that to think about solving this problem.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sam. And another thing that sometimes we hear is people are dealing with, offloading these complex queries from their operational database isn't just the performance, but the actual availability of that primary database itself. Did you see any situations where, a query could take down an application or lead to some other negative impact?
Yeah, so we last year were using Fast API in ECS containers, and the ECS containers manage their connection pool between our OLTP database. And there would be some times where if a person landed on a view that inside Studio that was too intensive, it would actually just break the container. And because the database pool would just get backed up with this massive connection, then no new database queries could happen, and then they would just have a thundering herd and the container would die. And so we would have in Slack last summer, there's 10 alerts of a bunch of like 100 Vercel errors. Oh, someone just hit a view that was super intensive.
Yeah, and especially in a business like this, you're not necessarily in control of when someone decides to launch a Delphi and which one ends up being the most popular. So these outages could happen 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever.
Yeah. And I mean, that person that we were just showing you, they're originally from the UK. Some of our most popular Delphis are actually in Europe. And so in the middle of the night is sometimes when there is the most usage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is great. And so going back to expectations, this is something that we're seeing with some of our customers where, you could say, hey, I have this message tab, but the status update is too complex to calculate. So let's just remove it from the UI. Or, hey, saying when the last activity happened, that's causing some instability. So let's just remove it from the UI. You can do that, but the rest of the market, when your customers are looking at what's coming out of the FANG companies, there's starting to be a gap between customer expectations and what everyone else is able to deliver. And so one of the things that's really cool about what Sam's been able to do is say, hey, we are going to provide those modern experiences with the team that we have access to. So also wanted to call that out. So
I think that's such a good point. Not to interrupt, but I think it's such a good point because especially with AI, everyone's bar for what's good is just getting higher and higher and higher and higher. And so it's not sufficient anymore to have a product that's just okay or just good, but it needs to be really good and it needs to be magical. And you have to be leveraging new tools like Materialize if you want to make sure that it's going to be, meet that bar of expectation.
So the overarching trend that we're seeing right now, when we are having our first meetings and when we're seeing the people that are coming to Materialize, is there's a lot of things that are just breaking right now where, okay, there's some CTO, CIO initiative, we need to be AI native. Let's put all of our data together. We have our vector database. Let's try to bring in our fresh context and then serve it to these LLMs. And as people are wrestling with what it means to deliver fresh context to LLMs or to make it available for agents, they're seeing that their infrastructure never had a chance of supporting that. And so what do you do from there? And that's one of the things that I'll talk about really quickly as I do a quick overview of Materialize. So we think about Materialize as you can think of it as a developer productivity tool. This is the fastest way to create what we're calling live data products, and not just putting data together and hoping that it eventually ties out. But the underlying promise is that these are views and queries that you can trust, and you'll see why that becomes so important when we talk about these data-intensive applications. And so some of the big problems we hear when I'm taking first calls is, okay, like Sam's doing right now, my CTO saw this application experience and they're asking why can't we close that gap? And we're looking at our roadmap, we're looking at our capabilities, and we see we just can't pull that off. Or in the manufacturing and logistics space, we are trying to improve the yield of a particular plant or trying to optimize some supply chain. We want to create a digital twin of everything that's going on and building these higher level operational dashboards, alerts, workflows on top of it. We actually can't do that with the technology that we have access to. And now we're falling behind some of these more tech-enabled organizations. Or, like I mentioned, the structured data for AI and ML. And the reason this is hard is because the tools that you typically have at your disposal, you have your operational databases, your Postgres, your SQL server. This is your system of record. They're great at writing down transactions, dealing with concurrency, but they weren't designed for those complex transformations. And if you try to run those on your traditional database, things are going to blow up pretty quickly. You can scale up, you can add read replicas, but fundamentally you're scaling an architecture that wasn't designed for those types of transformations. The next thing you would look at is, and this is one of the things that Sam mentioned, like, okay, we see the shape of this problem is about these complex queries. Why don't we do this in a data warehouse? Those are great for complex transformations, but the problem is the time it takes between an update happening in the real world and when you see the result in one of those queries, you're talking about hours. You could get it down to minutes, but that gets extremely, extremely expensive. You're definitely not talking about seconds. And this is one of the reasons why when we're thinking about reactive UIs, where if a user presses a button, they want to see how their experience is reflected, that completely eliminates a data warehouse. And then if you have access to the talent, the budget, the time, you can build your own solution. You can use lower level stream processors. You can build some services to do some of this transformation on a one-off basis, but it's very complex and you may not have access to the talent to do that. And so what Materialize lets you do is basically create up-to-date views, and this is in the database term, like a SQL query that represents some idea, concept, business process. So a view into any aspect of your business and do it just using SQL. And so really quickly, so let's take the example of Delphi. So the way Materialize works is you have your source data, you are streaming it into the Materialize platform. We have the separation of storage and compute. So your data comes in as these raw tables. And then in a traditional database, if you want a query to go fast, what do? You add an index to the table. In Materialize, you create views and then you can index those directly. And that's where the magic happens, because when you index a view, behind the scenes, we'll create these data pipelines that can incrementally and continually keep that view up to date. And the cost and the work that we're doing is proportional to the amount of change rather than the complexity of the question. So if you have hundreds of users, thousands of users, the example of that conversation view that Sam mentioned, all of those are essentially free because we've already done the work ahead of time.
I just want to say that I think in some important context from why I was so excited about Materialize when I found it was I built something somewhat similar at OpenStore which is a startup I was at for Delphi, where we were pulling in a bunch of data sources for the merchants we were acquiring from Shopify. And it was like Google ads, Facebook ads, analytics, all these different places. And it created this like change data capture system. And I like the way you put it, where it's like the work is relative to the amount that's changing for each update. And that was my full-time job for months. And I think, when you think about it, it makes so much sense because you have the work done up front. And I'm very bullish on this kind of system to serve data, because if we think about where things are going, we have model context protocol is huge right now. And it's only going to become more important as agents and LMs are actually just making queries directly, and they're just accessing the data at incredible scale. What are we going to do? We see maybe like one trend is serverless, like Supabase. Maybe we'll just continue to scale to infinity. But that doesn't really help if you are still having to do all the work every single time that the agents and the LMs are just calling you over and over again. And especially if you have complex transformations, like the one you can see like a little bit on the right in this slide, in our conversation view, have like the ability to see alerts that have been triggered, the messages when they were last active, all these different things, complex transformation. How are we going to do that at scale with agents? We need something that's actually doing the work up front. Like, what expertise was necessary to be able to set this up? I think the thing that we said in the practice dry run last week that you were like, oh my goodness, was we actually had our intern set this up. Like, we had an intern last summer and we had asked him to solve this problem for us because the table wasn't loading, and you're like, all right, I'll set it Materialize.
Yeah, that's huge because, again, there's only so many engineers in the world. Meanwhile, the demands for the types of things that engineers would build is growing exponentially. And you can say, yes, we'll use agents to figure out some of that, but you still need the human in the loop. And so how do you create the right tools and infrastructure that lets you bridge that gap? So, okay, so with that, let's talk about some specifics around what this has meant for Delphi now that you have Materialize rolled out to a few pages.
Yeah, so since last summer when we integrated Materialize into some of the core areas in Studio, we had a 120x reduction in page load times. We went from sometimes 2 minutes and then breaking down to under a second, half a second for it to load the audience and the conversation views. And then we've also seen the weekly active users in Studio, the people who are coming back to their Studio to see what's in it, increase by 25%. And then also the amount of time that it takes for somebody to land in Studio and then get some sort of value, whether it's they see an alert that's been triggered, so they might have to land in Studio, navigate to the page to see a flow that has been activated, that has decreased by 60%. So I think massive wins with something that didn't require a full-time data engineer.
I'm curious, what's next on your roadmap for Materialize and for Delphi?
Yeah, so I think I hinted at it a little bit a couple slides ago, but I think one of the things that we are going to lean into is how can we make sure that the queries that our Delphis, which are running agents under the hood, are all under 100 milliseconds. Like if there's anything that needs to happen, that is some sort of complex view of all this data that we need to pull together to present to LLMs to be able to curate the experience for the users on the talk page, the consumers and the creators. How are we possibly going to be able to do that? We have to have some sort of incremental view maintenance. And so leaning into that for more of the consumer, because a lot of the things we were just showing in Studio, that's all like the creator view inside of Studio. But how can we actually make it so maybe we're not even doing any trips to RDS when someone is querying or like sending a message to a Delphi? That's a big one. And then also, as we provide more and more insights, is what we're calling it, to the creators about what their Delphi users are asking them, and learning about what people are interested in or what content they need to create, those kinds of things. All of those views that are being, all of those data sources that are producing insights inside Insight Engine just are getting increasingly complex. And so I just see a ton of greenfield opportunities where, as we go to agent scale, as it said in earlier slides, these views where the work is done up front, I think are going to be immensely important.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your roadmap. And again, congrats on all the success so far. I actually signed up for Delphi a couple days ago. I haven't told Sam this, and I was talking to one of the creators, and there's this feature where not only will it respond in text, but it'll respond in voice, but it'll actually be the voice of the creator. And that was like eerily good. So definitely check out Delphi when you have a moment.
Awesome.
Okay. So let's open it up for some questions. And see, we have some coming in here. Okay, first question is around the migration path. So you already had your Postgres database, you had your web client connected to it. What was that path of actually integrating Materialize?
Very simple. There are some things, there's basically some configurations that you need to change. I mean, for us, we're using Postgres in AWS, and you just have some different settings you need to change to allow it to wire up to Materialize. But Materialize actually has like a feature where you can just put in your AWS account, and they expose a VPC endpoint inside, and then you just accept it, and it wires it up, and then just starts piping the data to Materialize. And so I think getting all of the data fed into the stream was very simple. And then you just need to write the composable data products that are almost declarative. Like, what do you want to expose to people? And that also is as simple as being able to write SQL.
Got it. Thank you. And then, there's a couple, I'm just adding to that, there's a couple different patterns that we see with Materialize. So the first pattern looks a lot like a smart read replica, which is what Sam mentioned. You just attach a replication stream, and then you build your queries on top of that. Your writes happen in one place, and your reads happen in Materialize. The next pattern is around, we call it an integration hub, where you are using Materialize to basically create views across different data sources. So it's acting like there's a new database that for the first time you got this view into what's going on. A lot of times we see that workload traditionally happening in the data warehouse, and you see this shift left where you say, okay, yes, we have these models in the data warehouse, but we'll layer on Materialize to basically have like a correct speed layer, which gives you like a Lambda architecture or even a Kappa architecture. And that's great because it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to say, hey, I'm going to take all of my data warehouse queries and run those on Materialize, because Materialize is not a data warehouse. But instead, it's like, okay, for these particular types of views where we care about freshness, we care about performance, we can run those on Materialize. And for everything else, we can run in the data warehouse. And the last pattern is almost like a transparent enricher, where you already have your event-driven architecture and you have events going along the wire, and you may have a lot of services that do these transformations. You basically replace those services with Materialize. It does those transformations extremely quickly and cheaply, but your end consumers don't even know Materialize exists. It's just like, okay, hey, these events are good and they're fresh, and we don't have to worry about it. So those are some of the different ways that you see Materialize integrated.
Yeah. Also, while you were talking about that, you reminded me of another way that we're about to start using Materialize is, and I think this is something that maybe people would find interesting, is we have a table that is starting to actually get too big to put in RDS, that we're going to rip it out and use Kafka. And Materialize will actually let us unify the Kafka event stream with other records that are sitting in SQL to create a view that combine those two things, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, that's another thing that we're working on this week.
How have you thought about, onboarding new developers? So I know it's just SQL, but your team is growing. And so how are you thinking about explaining Materialize, what that means at Delphi, to make sure you're keeping up with this developer productivity, Sam?
I'm still figuring out the best way as a startup CTO to run onboarding for the team, but we just had someone come on as our new head of infrastructure who has been doing a lot of work with Materialize, and I think it's pretty simple, like very intuitive dashboard, add them in, get them up to speed. And I think one of the things that we really want to do to help make future people have an easier time is productize the data products in dbt, like using some sort of configuration YAML file. So then it becomes very clear. You can just see in version control, okay, this is the DAG of what views we've created and what depends on what. And you almost don't even need to know how Materialize works to understand what we've set up.
Yeah, and the DBT point is a great one, because now that we're seeing more people, instead of shifting left, saying, staying left, like staying in operational space, they're not always familiar with some of the patterns that come up when you're dealing with very complex views. And so DBT is definitely something that we recommend to almost be like taking the software approach to thinking about these views, because in Materialize, the views, sometimes it's better to think about them as like deployable products rather than just queries. And then how would you treat a product? Well, you would check it in and you would have governance and source control and all of that. So that's definitely a bit to the learning curve. In terms of day two operations, so like, what is your observability stack? So this is now again, like Materialize is not a data warehouse. This is in the critical path. Like, what are some of the things that you've monitored? Like, what does that stack look like to know that you're, the health of your service?
It's a good question. We have set up, we're using this service called Axiom that is kind of like Datadog, that has event streams, but it's good because they have created their own query language to make time series data very fast to query. And so we are constantly publishing events about the thing that we care the most about, that we have alerts on, is the lag time. So like if there's a change that happens in the database, how long before it's reflected in Materialize? And we generally want to keep that lag time under a couple seconds, which is pretty awesome, because you were talking about how data warehouse, you're maybe minutes, and we're consistently able to have it be that way. But sometimes we really overload our database, or there's just a bunch of changes, or we've somehow like deployed a new view, so the CPU and Materialize is being sucked up by something, and then maybe the lag increases. I think having the event stream of that has been probably the thing we are focused on the most.
Thanks so much for joining. This was a great conversation. And like we said at the beginning, a really powerful use case that we're seeing more and more often. And it's cool to see the before and after and get the live demo, especially with an AI native startup. So yeah, thanks so much. And Sam, I'll pass it to you.
Definitely. Thank you, Nate. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and talk about this. I'm kind of a nerd about data products and companies that let you run scalable data infrastructure. So it's been great also getting to work with you. We are, I think the main things that I want to plug in this forum is one, check out Materialize. I think that people are going to start doing more and more agentic workflows that need to scale up the speed and amount of times that it's querying your complex data products. Materialize is a good solution. And also Delphi's hiring. So check out our website. I had 2 screenshots of it, but delphi.ai, and we're hiring any role that you could imagine: product, backend, ML, growth engineers, all of it. So feel free to email me, sam@delphi.ai, or my co-founder, Dara@delphi.ai, and we'll get back to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sam. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be sending out the recording after this.
Awesome.